Mr. Doval, thanks very much. How should India deal with China? Because Pakistan exists and will exist, one of the reasons being China.
I think it's a very, very valid question. And I would like to give a little time, I'd like to devote a little time to that. Let us first put on the graph paper some realities. Can you hear me? Number one, China's comprehensive national power today is about 3 times higher than India. And in next 50 years, we will not be able to equal it unless China undergoes any major internal, power struggle or something like that to destroy it. There's no point in refusing to accept the reality as it exists. Let us first accept it and then find solutions. Number one. Number two, China is converting its economic power into its military and strategic power at a very, very fast rate, faster than what we had anticipated. Where they are reaching today in 2012 or 13, the last exercise that they did in Shenzhen in 2009, and then should have happened in 2018 to 20. They have advanced their program of strategic and military build-up by about 10 years. In these days of acute economic shortages and difficulties, they are doing it as a great marvel. And they are doing it because today is the time when they can do it at the cheapest cost. If China stops weaponizing it, probably the weapon industries and major these things will probably stop, particularly in Soviet Union, but also in the Southwest. So they are getting, the former Soviet Union, the Russia, has got no buyer and had done an assembly line for which it requires buyers. India was one buyer, but then India also wanted to diversify, and it is not that big a market. So they are getting J-15 aircraft, they are getting their missiles, they are getting everything, and then they are working on the reverse technology and investing very heavily in getting world's best scientists, technologists, and others to get the technology edge. They have become almost a blue water navy, and Admiral Muller, who was here a week back, actually came here from Seoul, and he was coming from South Korea because the South Korean American wanted to do a naval exercise in South China Sea. And the Chinese told them, your aircraft carrier Washington is not welcome. If it comes, we'll hit it. This was a greatest shock to the Americans because it's an exercise. It was not a, but they said in your exercise, these waters, they are international waters. The South China Sea water, will not be able to come. If they come, we'll consider it as an unfriendly act and we'll strike. Obviously, they would not have put a missile on it, but they would have put a missile with a non-lethal head on this to demonstrate their power projection. Americans withdrew their Washington midway from the Pacific. And Admiral Muller came to Seoul, gave a statement, which was quite a interesting statement, that we are deeply concerned about the Chinese overtures and the Chinese things. And from there he came straight to Delhi, where he gave a lot of positive statements. Before that, if you recall, about 8 months back, when Admiral Keating, who was the commander of the Pacifics in the American Pacific Command in Manila, he had come and said the Chinese told us that you leave the Indian Ocean to us, we will leave the Pacific to you. Eliminate India. We would like to dominate the Indian Ocean. To which the Americans said that we said no. This arrangement is not acceptable. In the Indian Ocean, they have made the pearl of strings, that is in Coco Islands in Myanmar, at the distance of the Irrawaddy, in Chittagong Hill Track, in Chittagong Port in Bangladesh, then the Hamanwata Track in Sri Lanka, then in Gwadar in Pakistan. The entire thing of the India has been choked, where they are going to have their naval bases and vessels and their naval prisons. They say we want to do it because we have to keep this thing of our oil tankers coming from here. Who is endangering it? What they are doing is they are thwarting the India's position. Now you said that they have brought the missiles in Tibet. And not only the missiles, D-25 have been brought to Tibet, they have now been brought closer to the border. And I think today's newspapers, you must have seen, they told that we will not allow the Indian delegation to come because General Jamwal had worked in J&K, which we consider as a disputed area. China had always taken an almost equidistant position on J&K for very, very long time. They had their claims about the disputed territory in Arunachal and others, but on the J&K situation, they had been taking a non-committal position. The question is, how do we deal with it? I think the best strategy for India would be to develop its missile capacity to a very, very high degree. China is extremely vulnerable today because all its comprehensive national power will be burst in case its economic installations are threatened. And as China is progressing at a very fast rate, its economic installations are coming up at a very fast rate. You know, that's why we say, what sort of a strategic weapon system we can use against Pakistan? There is nothing. Some cotton ke khet and some kapas ke khet or some gehu ke wo baki kya hai? Who do you hit? Whereas they can hit a lot of things in India to decapacitate it. If China understands that India's missile striking capacity is so much that we might be able to advance in Arunachal, but our industry and business, if you have got the missiles with Agni 5 being inducted, with 2,500 to 3,000 kilometers of a capacity taking Guangzhou, Shanghai, and all these, and the port areas. That is within 24 hours their economic capacity will be decapacitated. Should that happen, Japan, Manila, Australia, Vietnam, everybody would be able to make that. After they are also surrounded by the competitors. But nobody has got that capacity except India. It has got to make up its mind to develop its strategic missiles capacity. Fortunately, I think now there had been a lot of pressure and the government is going. And I think in last 3 years' time, there has been considerable progress in these areas that we are going to do for the missiles. Secondly, we have got still an air superiority over them. The delays which have come up in our this thing in the long range this thing and the mid-air fueling planes, that probably we have got to make up for that, and probably the procurement should be done there. There's no point in going for the tanks. Tank battles are over. In China, in any case, it will not be there, and in Pakistan, they may not be required. So let us not go for the development of the MBT, the main battle tank, but probably our low combat aircraft. This thing must be this. But the most important thing is, will you be able to outdo China in some of the selected critical areas of economic activity? We had an edge over information technology that is now they are catching up with us. And they are catching up very fast. We had the edge in services with our knowledge of accountancy, law, banking and others, insurance and others. Probably we might be losing that edge also. Manufacturing, they have already taken this thing. We will have to think of our entrepreneurs, our businessmen, they will have to think of a new paradigm in which the growth models have got to be built. Because the goodwill for India, the support for India in this area of activity is much more globally than for China. Though certainly they would not like jobs to come to India. Certainly there's a certain resistance about the growing Chinese or growing Asian giants or whatever you may call it, tiger and elephant or whatever that. But the fact remains that when it comes to the choice between the two, the preference is for India, but economic sense makes in China, because whatever the Chinese government assures you, whatever you talk to them, that gets implemented. Here, there are so many vested interests, there are so many wheels within the wheels, that you really do not know where you stand. Who is telling you what, why, and at what cost? So we find that foreign direct investment, even the deals, even the Indian entrepreneurs probably going this thing like that, they find our system having a negative impact about the overall. We are not able to leverage our entire this thing and have a multiplier effect. If 3 plus 2 plus 3, it doesn't add up. Actually, it should not add up, it should multiply. But we become minus. If he is 3 and I am 2, we are together 1. Because I use 2 of my energy to neutralize this 2, this 2 is neutralized. He wins by 1 point. They make it 6, 3 into 2. Now, this capacity of the nation as a force multiplier is extremely important. And this is the weak governance. There can never be a force multiplication unless you have got a leader who has got a vision and then who has got the strength to carry his vision, whatever it is. You have to decide what is in the national interest and carry it. And have the guts to accept the people who will have those missions to do it. Because the bigger problem comes is that a man who himself does not have this thing, he is extremely shaky about accepting the advice or taking this thing of the people who they think that he may take us too far into this thing and it may be very dangerous to go in that way. Now that is what happens. Because you do not want to go to the uncharted path. Just if you decide, do you have the capacity to do it, are your intentions are good. If it's, go ahead. Build the nation. Build it up. Everybody is an equal.